Today we're going to be making a vase and some flowers, and it's a good time to do this because it's quite hard to find flowers at the moment and they cheer up your home. So to start with, you need a sheet of newspaper to put on the tables. You'll need an old cream or yoghurt pot to put the glue in, an old paintbrush, some scissors might also be useful, although they're not essential. So to begin with, we're going to do a really fun hunt through our recycling box, and you can find all sorts of interesting things in your recycling box which may or may not be useful at a later date for making things. Anyway, today I'm looking for, in the glass box, and I found an old jam jar, but you could also use an old milk jug because it's easy to cut with some scissors. Either ask your parents or an adult to cut the lid off, and then you can end up with something that's the right size for you to be able to make it into a flower pot. So for the glue, you either can use PVA, or if you've got some wallpaper paste, then you can also use that. Mix it up with, if it's wallpaper paste, you mix it up with some water, and if it's PVA, you can also mix it up with a bit of water, a few drops of water. We're going to start off by thinking about your pot. Some people, I know, prefer to just go for something and see what turns up at the end of it. So not really thinking about what you're doing beforehand, but just sort of going for it. Other people like to plan what they're going to do. So if you're going to plan it, you could think about the design of the colours, what colours you want, how you want them overlaid on each other. If you want to have little bits of detail, you could do that. Or you can just, as I say, pick up a magazine, flick through it, find some colours that you like, tear them out, and then just use those. You don't need scissors for this bit, so we're just going to tear off pieces of magazine into strips. It can be any recycled paper you have. So now you've got your strips of paper, and make sure you've got enough before you start. And then onto I'm going to use a jam jar for this one. You start to paint your PVA. Press it down firmly onto the jar, and don't worry about the end bits, because the end bits we're going to do something fun with later on. So you might want to curl them round like that, or have them sticking up, or you could even cut into them to make some designs. Okay, so this is what my pot looks like so far, and as you can see I've chosen sort of pinky coloured papers, but I'd quite like to add a little bit more colour to it, so I think I'm going to go with a bit of blue. So I've got some blue torn strips here, and I'm just going to kind of apply them. So I'm now gluing onto the back of the bits of paper, and I'm just going to sort of apply them randomly to add a bit of sort of abstract colour and pattern. I think that looking at this, it would be quite nice to have some green and some white flowers maybe. So I've selected some sheets of paper that have got green, white. I've collected some little twigs from the park, and those are going to be the stems. So to do this, I'm just going to again sort of tear the paper quite randomly. I've got an idea for a flower with maybe 4 petals. And now I'm going to scrunch the paper up a bit because it looks more petally like if it's less rigid. And now I'm going to put some glue onto these shapes and literally just sort of stick them all together around the twig. So that's going to be the basis of my first flower, which I'm now going to put out to dry, and then I'm going to make a green flower. My green flower is, I think I'm going to have more of a pleated look to my green flower. It's literally just going backwards and forwards, folding the paper, look like that, to make it look like a fan. This is what I've got, and I'm going to now fold this in half, that I've stuck them together like that, and then I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the other 2 edges, make it look like a sort of rosette. I'm also going to put my twig, my stick, up the middle of this so that it glues around it, like that. And then these bits are still sort of flopping around, so I need to put some glue in there to make it look more like a complete flower. There, so I've now got a nice green folded flower. And my last flower is going to be a rolled piece of paper. So, and then again I'm going to get my twig. I'm only going to put glue on this edge because that's the bit I want to stick together. And it looks like that. And I'm then going to let that to dry, and then when it's dry we're going to cut down with some scissors and open out the little fronds. Make a little leafy shape. Okay. Now the only other thing left to do is to finish off the top of the pot. With the top, as you can see here, in the one I made before, I've curled some of the pieces of paper round and made some interesting shapes. Roll some of these edges that I've purposely left longer to make a more of an interesting top. So I'm adding bits of paper now to the outside and just folding it over on itself. So I've finished curling around the top and we've got our beautiful vase with our 3 flowers in it. But please don't forget to tidy up after you. And also remember that you can revisit these in a couple of days or a week or so, and you can add more paper or you can change it. And I think what's really important is that there's no right way of doing this. What it's about is about experimenting and being excited by the materials you're using and having fun. And in a few days' time, if you have a look at what you've done and you can think critically, it's easier to stand back then and look at what you've done and see, I really like that bit, or that seems to work, I don't particularly like that bit. And you can build on your experience and just keep on going. Don't forget to send your pictures and videos so that we can put your lovely work in our virtual gallery. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.